Is the iPhone 14 Pro Max really worth $200 more than the iPhone 14 Plus? Or should you just save that money or invest it into upgrading your storage? Well, there are some significant differences between these phones, and I think that some of you guys are going to regret the decision that you quickly made. So in this video, I will cover not only all the differences, but also the similarities and in what ways the 14 Plus is actually better than the Pro Max, and ultimately helping you make the right choice. I'm gonna start out with some simple differences and then get into the heavy hitters. Now, you guys obviously know that we have color differences and you know your preference, so I'm gonna skip to what really stands out. Now, the size of the displays are the same. That's a major selling point, but what isn't is the materials. We have aluminum on the Plus and stainless steel on the Pro Max. Now, stainless steel does look nice, but there's major downsides. First off, fingerprints. You can see them, you have to wipe it all the time, compared to aluminum where you don't have that. And I think that you notice scratches way more on the stainless steel as well. I definitely notice it on mine. But with that said, if you do drop it, the stainless steel is much more sturdy and protective. With that, the back glass, which is very expensive to replace, does have some differences. The Plus has this shiny finish that is glossy. It shows a lot of fingerprints, but it gives you a nice grip to it. Whereas the Pro Max, I love the matte finish, it feels great, doesn't leave fingerprints, but it is a little bit more slippery. Now, since we're talking about durability, scratches, and cracks, let me tell you about the sponsor of this video, Taurus. They make simple, unique, and very affordable cases for iPhones, including the new iPhone 14s. The first one we have is the Guardian, and one unique feature is that you can actually swap out these nice hard buttons on the side with these other ones that have different colors if you want a little bit of a pop. This one has military grade protection, and it has this bump, which they call an airbag. It's patented and it absorbs all the shock to protect your cameras. The next one is the U Pro, which has this translucent back on there that also protects it. It has this kickstand built right in, so if you're gonna be watching movies, you pop it right open and it will hold your phone for you, and there is still room for charging. Next is the Diamond Clear, which is slim and lightweight. It has ultra high transparency and industry-leading anti-yellowing. They also have the U Pro in clear and the Guardian with MagSafe. So go ahead and check them out using the links down below and get yourself a case that is affordable and that will protect your phone. Now, Apple talked about crash detection and spent a ton of time on satellite connectivity, and thankfully both of the phones have this. Both of them have the same exact waterproofing, and a lot of the other upgrades apply as well, such as Bluetooth 5.3, which they could have saved for the Pros, but they didn't. Now, the one thing that really stands out is the difference in processors. And I have to say, that's probably not gonna be the deal breaker where people were getting upset that the new iPhones have an old chip. Now, if you're comparing to the Pro Max, the latest benchmarks do show that there's a 17% difference in CPU and an 8% difference in graphics. But of course, even the A15 and the A14 were so fast that it doesn't make a major difference. Now, one area where I think there is gonna be a difference is battery life, with the Plus being better. Now, Apple mentioned that has the best battery life in any iPhone ever, but that was rating audio playback, whereas in video playback, it is actually worse than the 14 Pro Max, and that is just because of the extra efficiency of the A16 chip. But personally, I think that if you are a lighter user, you will get better battery life out of the 14 Plus just because it has a larger battery in general, and it doesn't have some of these extra features that eat up extra battery that doesn't show up on those spec sheets. For example, we have to talk about the display, because this is where we have a ton of differences. What really shocked everybody was the dynamic island, which is the new version of the notch, and not only does it look different, but they're using it as a part of the UI. So a lot of shortcuts and apps and controls and notifications are going to be shown there. And this does look super cool. It is handy, but personally, it's not like this is something that you have to have. It makes a massive difference in actual usability. It is more of a luxury feature. Now, where I do think it will matter is upcoming years, and I'll talk about that at the end. Now, one thing that really matters to me is the always on display. Now, Apple's able to do this because the screen goes down to 1 Hertz now, which saves battery on the 14 Pro Max. And of course, if you enable always on display, it's gonna use extra, but it is so nice to have all your notifications showing up there, just dims down, and if your phone is laying there, you see all that instead of having to tap it. Now, ProMotion also taps into that because that variable refresh rate goes up to 120 Hertz, which makes the phone so smooth. If you've never experienced this on the iPhone 13s, man, it is amazing to have, but there is a major downside. If all of your other devices that you use only have 60 Hertz, for example, maybe your iPad, your different computer monitors, all of that, when you're used to your iPhone, everything else just seems slow and glitchy. So at that point, you want to upgrade your other devices or it gets annoying. But personally, if you can afford it, it is nice to have. Now, where things get really different are the cameras. And I know not everybody cares about cameras, but I still want to touch on it and where it really matters. Apple showed off the 48 megapixel camera and it looks really good. But the 14 Plus gets the camera from the iPhone 13 Pro Max. So it's still a very good camera, but there are some limitations. First off, you're not gonna get the ProRes RAW, you're not gonna get ProRes video. Does that matter? I'm somebody who shoots so many photos and I will say, no, it does not matter. I've used both of those, but they take up way more space. The results aren't that much better. So even if you get the Pro Max, I don't think a lot of you guys will use that. Now with that, the action mode still works great on both, as well as the cinematic mode. It works in 4K HDR on both, which is great, but the larger sensor of the 14 Pro Max will make it more accurate. Along with that, the front-facing cameras are identical. They are both new and much improved. So if you love selfies, there's no difference. But the other difference really comes in with that 3x telephoto lens and with LiDAR. Having that 3x telephoto allows you to zoom in 15 times instead of 5, and it looks so much better on the iPhone 13 series. So the same thing's gonna go with this setup. If you like to zoom in, you have kids or animals further away, it makes a dramatic difference. It also allows you to take portraits with that lens, which does give you a whole different perspective, more like a realistic camera. And with that, the LiDAR sensor, if you take portrait shots at night, it allows for night mode. The 14 Plus still doesn't have that, and there is a shocking difference in terms of the quality, the brightness, the sharpness, all of that. So overall, if you care about cameras, it is such a huge difference. You have so much more options with the 14 Pro Max. Now, this is where we have to talk about resale value. Some people don't care about that, but other people do. Now, if you're gonna be selling your 14 Plus, say in a year from now to upgrade to the 15, well, the 15s are gonna get that dynamic island as well. At that point, the 14s are gonna get outdated much quicker than previous iPhones where we didn't have that difference. So I would definitely think about that. And if you're somebody that doesn't resell their phone, you keep it for a long time, say 3, 4, even 5 years, you have to think, well, this is an extra $200, but what difference is that price when you spread it over 5 years? And if you're gonna be sticking for a phone that long, that's where I would highly recommend to get the 14 Pro Max. Not only do you get that new design that's gonna stay fresh for a long time with a new notch, the always on display, much better cameras, you have the LiDAR, you just get so much more value for that $200 price. Now, who should buy the 14 Plus? I would say 2 people. One, somebody that doesn't have great eyesight, or you really like a big screen, but you really don't care about anything else. You'd be happy with an iPhone 6, iPhone 7. And 2, if you need the best battery life, because if you're not a heavy user and your screen's gonna be off for a long time and you're not gonna be pushing your phone hard with games and other things, the standby time should be really good with this phone, much better than what Apple specs show off. So there you guys go. Please do not make the wrong choice. Look over all of the differences that I talked about and think about how long you're gonna have this phone and what that price difference really breaks down to over the long term. A lot of people should be getting the Pro Max instead of the Plus, and it looks like, based on pre-orders, a lot of people are pre-ordering that instead. So there you guys go. Go ahead and check out Taurus, all those cases with links down below. They're incredibly priced, the quality is good, and click above to subscribe to see more videos like this one. Check out one of those videos right over there. This has been Max, and I'll see you in the next video.